In the last few years, a new sport has arisen all over the globe, where men and women test their bodies against obstacles that are natural or man-made. An incredible trial of agility, strength, determination, and sheer endurance. At races on every continent, on every weekend of the year, hundreds of thousands of people battle it out on courses like these. And this year, the world's finest obstacle course racers have come to the south of England to find out who is the very best of them all. Ahead of us is a weekend of action, from a 3-kilometre sprint to a full-on 15k of muddy hell. Let's head over to your commentator, Patrick Winston, to see what's coming up.
Kelvedon Hatch is an area of quiet farmland in the Essex countryside, and for most of the year it's a place of serenity where the sounds of birdsong and distant tractors are the only thing to disturb the peace. However, for the last 7 years, it's also been the venue for the infamous obstacle course series, Nuclear Races. With several events taking place every year, these obstacles are a permanent fixture on the landscape. And in 2018, the challenge is massively increased, as loads more obstacles have been shipped in from abroad in preparation for the 2018 Obstacle Course Racing World Championships. The event is made up of 3 days of competition. On day one, it's all about the sprint, 3 kilometres with 24 obstacles. Day 2 is the endurance event, an unprecedented 100 obstacles over 15 kilometres of tough terrain. Day 3 is all about the team racing, a relay testing every element of the sport. As Day 1 demonstrates, this isn't just an event to promote elite excellence. There are age group competitions with qualifying competitors coming from partner events all over the world. Competitors can choose exactly how many events they take part in, but most will want to do all of them. The elites get their first chance to demonstrate how good they are at the end of the first day in the 3K sprint. John Alban is the #1 favourite. He's won every single 15-kilometre world title, and he's also the defending champion in the 3-kilometre event. His biggest rival perhaps is Ryan Atkins from Canada. These two should have a battle royal.
How do you feel about the Obstacle Course Racing World Championships being in the UK for the first time?
Yeah, I'm actually really excited. I was actually born about 15 minutes from here and grew up 30 minutes from here. So it's really fun to be back, and it's a home event. I mean, I live in Norway now, but to come back, see familiar faces, familiar terrain, it's an amazing feeling.
Ryan has dominated the North American scene for a long time, but he's nearly always finished second to John Alban.
Now, we're always interested to see the competition between yourself and John Alban. Would you say there's a bit of rivalry there?
I think there's maybe more of a perceived rivalry. I think of John as a good friend of mine, and him and I, you know, when we're together, we hang out and train together when possible. And like once we're racing, obviously we're trying to get through the course as fast as possible. But I think I'm his biggest fan, and maybe he's my biggest fan. So we just want to see each other do well.
Well, it's going to be fascinating to see how they get on today. I'm delighted to welcome Amy Saran, who is the editor of Mudstacle and an obstacle course racing aficionado. Amy, it's going to be a fantastic 3 days of competition. These two men, which way do you see it going?
To be honest, I only really see it going the one way. John Alban is completely dominant in this sport, but that doesn't mean there aren't people who are going to give him a bit of a run for his money.
Well, here we go at the start of the 3-kilometre event, and it's Ryan Atkins who bursts away. He's been joined by Thomas van Tonder from South Africa, certainly the #1 in South Africa. He's a big man, weighs in at 85 kilos, so maybe the 3K is his event. Alban at the moment sitting back in around 5th, 6th place in a blue t-shirt. You can see him, he's 7th, 8th now, just taking it steady over the first 500 metres, approaching the first obstacle.
This is sort of John's MO. He does like to sit back at the start. It's what he tends to do in these races. But as you can see, as we come through these trenches, he starts to really come into his own and take the lead there.
So from 7th to 1st in the space of 50 metres, that is Alban through and through. And now he goes into the front and everyone else will be thinking, well, I guess 2nd is good enough. Obstacle number 3 of 24. And Alban, very, very slick in between, stays down on his knees, just ducks under that last strand of barbed wire and up and running. Now, Alban is a world-class runner, so once he gets ahead, he's incredibly difficult to catch unless he makes a mistake.
Yes, and that's more pertinent in the 3K, where it's a sprint race and precious seconds matter.
And there's no doubt that with his running skills, the 15-kilometre is his stronger event. The 3K, maybe he's vulnerable.
The 3K is the one that I'm probably thinking most about. You've got to nail every single obstacle, go to absolute max, which I do very little of anyway. So I'll be really happy once that one's out the way, because it removes all the nerves and tension as well, and then I can just go on to enjoy the rest of the weekend. £50 to drag through the mud, and then it's on to the next obstacle, and pacing obviously absolutely key in these situations. And worth pointing out, Amy, that with all the obstacles, they are not allowed to train on them prior to the event.
No, they're allowed to walk the course before, but some of these obstacles are completely novel to them, like this one we're seeing now, trapeze. So they might just have to take a quick second to see how they're going to tackle them.
And once again, John Alban has shown just how classy he is, coming across the line in the 3K with a decent lead over Ryan Atkins, who is just coming over the big wall. That was a fantastic performance once again from Alban. And look at that, 15:37, 30 seconds clear of his nearest rival. Atkins in 2nd, Perligin of Russia down in 3rd.
You absolutely flew through that course.
Yeah, it felt pretty good. I made a few time mistakes, but nothing major, so I was pretty happy.
It felt good.
Felt hard.
Are you feeling confident for tomorrow?
Tomorrow I'm more comfortable than today, and I've won today, so hopefully tomorrow goes well.
So the King is still in very good form, and here perhaps is the Queen of women's OCR, Lindsay Webster, 28-year-old from Ontario, looking good, racing well.
Feels incredible. Last year and the year before, this race is actually on my home turf, so it's really neat to be like the foreigner, if you will, and just come to England. It's really fun to just be at the venue. You can almost feel the excitement and adrenaline in everybody's system, so can't wait for the start gun to finally go off.
Rebecca Hammond and Nicole Miracle, 2 women we need to watch out for. They perhaps have the best chance of giving Lindsay Webster a hard time on the women's 3-kilometre. And they are underway, the women's 3-kilometre. Strong start from Rebecca Hammond, who only started this sport in February. On her left, our right, is the orange crop top of Nicole Miracle, who's the defending champion.
So I'm really excited just for the whole event. It's just this great combination of different races, and I really like the different disciplines. The 3K is so much fun. I always like to come out and try to keep myself in the mix to hopefully have a shot at the victory, and I think that that's definitely a possibility, but there's a lot of really talented athletes out there.
But they are all behind Miracle at the moment, which is just where she wants them. The ditches, the trenches, and considerably harder. Worth pointing out at this stage, Amy, that the women do the same obstacles, they carry the same weight all the way through the course.
Yes, absolutely. Nothing changes for the different gender races.
Sweden with a strong team, Karin Karlsson there, who's medalled at these World Championships on a number of occasions, but it's Hammond who is out in front. Now, she goes to Harvard. She's a medical student, started the sport in February. It's incredible what she's done.
Yeah, it is absolutely insane. And if you can look at her technique through here, you know, she's using different techniques to the Swedes behind her, arguably a bit speedier, but this is really tough on the knees. the way that she's going through here, but she's made it through.
But with her lack of experience, perhaps she's the most likely to make mistakes on the obstacles?
Perhaps there's an element of self-preservation in some techniques that we've been seeing there, but it's not harmed her so far.
Lindsay Webster off the pace at the moment, but that's nothing unusual.
She does tend to hang back at the beginning of the race. Rebecca Hammond will have to keep one eye over her shoulder.
What was your background prior to February when you started running OCR?
I had been a competitive track runner, a mid-distance, and I started rock climbing a couple years ago.
So why did you start obstacle course racing?
Well, I had taken time off from competitive running and missed the competition. So OCR was kind of a fun combination and has it's like more fun than running because you get to do obstacles, which is great. So,
how do you train for this sport?
Mostly running, climbing, and recently I've started to do some Ninja Warrior gym playing around to get more confident at jumping. I used to be really scared of that kind of stuff. So,
efficiency through the obstacles so important. Lindsay Webster trying to make up for lost time. Rebecca Hammond still with the lead. Just looking a little bit tentative on some of the obstacles, but that's understandable. She's strong, she's very quick, and her flat running speed could be key later on.
Absolutely. I mean, a tiny mistake on this platinum rig could cost anyone the race at this moment, but she does have quite a turn of pace on the flat now.
Here comes Miracle, the defending champion, and she's some way behind Webster, who's trailing Hammond. So interesting situation, but remember, it is a 3-kilometre race expected to take the better part of 20 minutes in the women's category. And again, little bit of thought going into it. I guess that's the medical training for Hammond. Just think before you act.
Absolutely, a little bit tentative over the trapeze there, but the field is so close, a mistake would really cost her at this stage.
Webster starting to move up through the field in the green crop top on the far side. Miracle still very much in touch, and she's a quick runner as well. That could be handy in the latter stages. Now, this is the sort of competition you want. The first three within 10 metres of each other, and then 2 or 3 other competitors only trailing by 15 seconds or so. Very much in contrast to the men's event. Hammond looks left, looks right, just to see exactly where she's got to go. And this is one of the obstacles she's not so keen on.
No, she's making light work of it now. It's all a head game, this obstacle. The jump isn't as big as you think it is from the top.
And the more tired you get, the harder the obstacles become.
No problem at all for Karen Carlson though. That obstacle is her bread and butter.
Rebecca Hammond approaching the Weaver, 17th of 24 obstacles and a potential race changer. Over one beam, under the next, all the way through without touching the ground. Carlson's still in second place, but looks to be shortening her stride. Miracle now moving up into second, the 30-year-old from Boulder, Colorado. She's a good track runner, but she's a climbing enthusiast and has great grip.
After I started rock climbing, I kind of became this strange athlete where I was had a little more upper body muscle than a runner, but then I had more leg muscle than a climber, and I was just I don't even know what I am anymore. And then I found obstacle course racing, and I was oh, this actually works for how I've kind of been not intentionally training. And so I find that I was already pretty prepared going into becoming an OCR runner.
And certainly she is consistently showing her strength and still very much a threat in this race.
Yeah, it's pretty open, but as you can see, the technique there, it's really serving her well. Whereas Susanna Kuchimova, you saw there, is not quite as smooth through the Weaver.
And Miracle actually going back to third, having made up the ground earlier on. Now, this is where Hammond needs to focus and get things absolutely right.
Yeah, unusual grips on this rig that we may not have seen before, so just making sure you get one shot and get it right.
Most of these women, most of the athletes have a climbing background of some sort. The grip strength, the forearm strength, so important.
Absolutely, bouldering and such are really good training for races like this.
Now, how much of a surprise will it be if Hammond does manage to pull this one off and win the world title, considering she's only been doing the sport for, what, 7-8 months?
Yeah, a little slip there just as she started. I think it's fair to say that this is unfamiliar to a lot of athletes. It's only really had one proper outing. See Webster's off there.
Miracle on the near side, keeps the elbows flexed, and it is a much quicker technique. Has to gather the hooks and put them in the right location. It's called housekeeping in the sport.
A lot of housekeeping in these things. You've got to pick up your ninja rings, your hooks, and put them back.
So, Miracle, the defending champion, into the lead for the first time with only a couple of obstacles to go. A big leap from Hammond, but she goes down on her knees. That could prove to be critical. A slight mistake, and that's the thing with a 3 kilometre. You cannot afford to make an error. Look at Miracle go. She opens up those legs, and the American now pulling clear. Is there going to be any comeback? You can see them at the top end of the field. They've got to make their way back to the wall, which is the final obstacle through the tubes to start with. Now this is a tricky one because they're going straight into a muddy pond out of here.
Just to make sure they're nice and slippy and muddy before they've got to rely on their grip for that final obstacle.
Well, it just makes the last 500 metres that much tougher as well. Up the cargo nets to exit the muddy pool, and Hammond, a look of determination on her face, but it was, what, 2-3 seconds before the body responded. This is a tough wall.
Oh yeah, it's extremely slippy. It's the hardest one I've seen at their World Champs course, but Miracle is making it look very easy.
Hammond across the top of the wall, but as she does so, she sees Miracle exiting the bottom and crossing the line to take the world title, retain the world title she won last year. And Hammond takes second. She'll be happy with that, but she knows how close she came to becoming world champion. What a race. Webster third.
Nicole, congratulations on taking the 3K. How does it feel?
It feels awesome. It actually comes at a huge surprise. I was just like shocked coming over the wall. I thought Rebecca was like, well, she was right on my heels, but I thought like for sure the last 400 meters, like she was gonna catch me.
I came in with low expectations. I'd never seen these obstacles before. Looking at them, I was like, I don't know, like I've never done the spinning things. Maybe it's gonna be hard, and they were really fun. So yeah, I feel lucky.
My lungs hurt so much right now just from breathing so hard, but the obstacles are really fun, and I think it was a good level of difficulty because like my arms are really tired now as well as my legs. So
what does it feel like when you're on an obstacle and the pack is so tight? You know you can't make a mistake or that's your race over. How does that feel?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty stressful, but I think like you just can't let it get to you. If you get really flustered, you just sort of start stumbling on things.
What a first day's competition. Both champions retaining their titles. Tomorrow morning, they do it all again, but it's going to be the blue ribbon event, the 15 kilometre.
Welcome back to the Obstacle Course Racing World Championships. Yesterday, Nicole Miracle and John Albon defended their titles on the 3K sprint. But today's 100 obstacle 15 kilometre event is going to prove to be a lot tougher.
This is the big one. This is the one that all the top pros want to win, and we've got a fantastic field here for the 15K. They are underway, and there'll be a bit of a bum fight in the early stages.
Yes, certainly. Unlike yesterday's 3K seeded start, this is a mass start, so you've got to get your elbows out, secure a position. Otherwise, when you hit obstacles, you're going to get into traffic.
No surprise to see Ryan Atkins taking the lead from Canada. Remember, he was second in the 3K. This is the one he wants to win, though. For Belgium, we've got Thomas Buell is up there as well, and the South African Thomas van der Tonde has had a good start. He's wearing the light-coloured top with the white visor and sitting in third position at the moment. No sign of Albon at the moment, but he traditionally sits back a little, but you've got to be careful with such a big field.
Oh, absolutely, but he knows what he's doing. He's got a great pedigree.
Will builds himself a 5-metre lead going into the Normandy jack crawl.
Yeah, but as you can see, there's lots of different techniques being adopted here. You've got Albert Soli in the yellow there rolling, and there are others choosing to crawl.
Well, already the field being spread out. And this is a stage where Ryan Atkins usually makes ground. He's an immensely strong athlete.
not used to having to drag those rec bags through that. They're used to having them on their shoulders and going for a run.
On the far side in the red vest is Alban, and Atkins just alongside him, trying to keep an eye on his main rival. But look how the cream just drifts towards the front of the field. Atkins powers his way into the lead as they head back into the woodland. It's a familiar looking story.
Ryan's a great racer. Obviously he's had to travel over the pond this way now, so maybe that's slightly in my advantage, but he's such a great athlete. It's always going to be a big battle between us, so I expect him to be give me a run for my money.
Well, he'll certainly try, but Atkins, being abroad, has the slightly tougher task, but everything looking good at the moment.
I'm taking in a lot of culture and a lot of and the whole British OCR scene, which is totally new to me. Just looking at the course, it's a lot flatter than kind of maybe what I'm used to, but actually where I live, there's a lot of kind of farm fields, and the weather is very similar this time of year, so it's not that different.
So Ryan, they're taking the path of least resistance through these trenches. British OCR is built on mud and water, but he's trying to stay dry there. And you can see going through these cargo nets there, they're quite punishing. And it's almost better to have your competitor alongside you, just to keep that net out of your face. And you'll see as they come to the end here, then you're going to want to trap your competitors as you just get the edge when you come out.
This is obstacle number 22, and as the men exit this, the women have just been given their starting orders. Just 1/5 of the way through. Now the women onto the trenches, the first of the obstacles, and Susanna Kuchimova looking very strong.
Yeah, she's absolutely dominant in the first quarter of this race. You see she's way out in front there, but she's always got an eye back just in case Karen Carlson nips at her heels.
Slightly different technique used by some of the women, getting their backsides much higher than the men, and it seems to be an effective technique.
Absolutely, you've got to keep your head down. I mean, hair is a bit of an obstacle in this one. You can see some ponytails getting snagged, but definitely backside up, head down. That's how you get through this.
Kuchimova and Lisanne de Vries on the far side by side, and they've got themselves a healthy looking lead.
Nah, look at this. Susanna is just going to blow her out on the flat here. She's got incredible speed and stamina.
Comes from a cross-country skiing background, another sport that lends itself well to obstacle course racing. The men up to the Force 5 balls, and Alban still with that little lead. The others will be very, very wary that he doesn't get more than 5-6 seconds clear. He's so quick, not only through the obstacles, but coming off the obstacle looks so smooth.
Absolutely, he's smooth like butter as Alban. He's making absolutely no drama of this stairway to heaven, which is a pretty horrible obstacle actually.
Through the halfway stage now, and it's business as usual for John Alban, looking to make it 5 world titles from 5 events. Everything's going to plan.
Welcome back to the OCR World Championships, where John Alban is firmly stamping his authority in the 15k race, whilst in the women's event, there's still everything left to play for.
Lindsay Webster just moving up onto the shoulder of de Vries and goes through, but Kuchimova still with the lead and has looked pretty strong so far. Cross-country skiing background, as we mentioned, raced in the Olympics back in 1998.
So they're actually carrying zipline attachments here. Again, another housekeeping thing, you've got to collect it, get it clipped on and take it off again.
Technique crucial here, keeping your body out of the water as long as possible.
Yeah, we're seeing obviously Susanna's taken an early bath there. And yeah, same story again, dropping in halfway, but look at Lindsay Webster. She's tucking very tight and she's made some precious seconds up there.
Well, that could be a key move from Webster. Just kept the arms bent and pretty much ran to the end of the wire, and she suddenly goes from third into first place, and Kuchimova will learn for next time. But Kuchimova recovering well, back into first place. Lindsay Webster still on her shoulder though. Webster has been doing this sport for 4 years, married of course to Ryan Atkins, and desperate to defend her title in the 15K.
There's a very large part of my brain that thinks a 3K or a 5K course will be the hardest race you'll ever run. But then it's once you get a chance to like catch your breath, you feel recovered again like 10 minutes later. Whereas the 15K sort of just drains all your energy system slowly, and I always have really achy legs after, and I'm totally tapped out. And I think a lot of it will come down to just obstacle efficiency and who can kind of get through them faster, because there's so many.
On the stairway to heaven, Karen Carlson making a move and going into the lead for the first time. Webster encountering a few problems, falling off, losing precious time. On the Viagon Saga, Carlson starting to show signs of fatigue herself and losing the lead this time to Dane Ida Matilda Steensgaard. Rebecca Hammond, who featured so prominently in the 3K, again showing herself to be a little vulnerable on some of the obstacles, and that gives Webster an opportunity to get back up into second place and hot on the heels of Steensgaard. All change.
Indeed, and now we're hearing that Nicole Miracle has pulled out with an ankle injury, so that gives us an opportunity to see different people on the podium. Ida is in with a real chance as she advances on the caving ladders.
Good technique from Steensgaard, which keeps her in the lead. Webster needs to be on and off as quick as possible, the defending champion with 30 meters to make up. And as the women approach the finish, the men are just about there. John Alban does it yet again, 5 times world champion, having been crowned 3-kilometer world champion yesterday. There is no stopping this man. Sergei Silin coming in second place, and Thibault de Boucher a good third place, 1:27.53 his time, 36 seconds down on Jonathan Alban.
How was that course?
Yeah, it was tough. It was like a proper battle. It's like I've been dragged through a ditch backwards.
3 out of 3 titles have been retained, and it looks as though Webster might hold on to her 15-kilometer title. She's stolen ahead of Steensgaard. She's over the final obstacle and across the line. The Canadian on fine form took it easy early on and then saved her best till last. Steensgaard will be astonished with that performance. The Dane must be over the moon. Look how tight the times are. Carlson gets herself on the podium. Steensgaard, brilliant. And Lindsay Webster, the champion yet again.
Oh, it feels really good. It was very obstacle dense, so for a while my goal was just to finish the race without getting stuck at any obstacles, but eventually I sort of just like picked my way forwards and moved into first place right before the finish, like 1 kilometer before the finish, so yeah, it was good.
So Webster now has a bronze and a gold to her name and chances in the team event on the final day of competition. And of course the age groupers get their chance to shine, and one we'll be watching out for is Heidi Williams, 59 years old and still going strong.
Age really isn't, it's just a number. It doesn't reflect on your athletic ability. You know, as long as you focus and believe in yourself, and that's the thing, you know, believing in yourself that you can do it. I mean, you can accomplish anything. So, you know, I know there's many of women and men my age out there that are really kind of mastering the sport. So I'm honored to be able to motivate someone else to do something like this, because it's an amazing sport.
The North American champion and the 24-hour enduro champion at her age.
Let's go!
And another remarkable character is Blind Pete, as he calls himself, Pete Kossaboon, and he'll be working his way around the course with his guide Joey McLamory.
All I can do is show up, you know, with my guide, you know, and tackle the obstacles as I come to them. So I think some, you know, after a time, some become easier, some are always going to be a challenge.
Indeed, there are plenty of para-athletes that show up on the OCR circuit. It's a real testament to how inclusive this sport is, and they are inspiring and humbling.
And the para-athletes having to complete every obstacle just like everyone else. Heidi still going strong. What an impressive effort from her. Heidi on to obstacle number 84, the spinning monkeys. 16 to go after this, and she hasn't failed one yet.
This course evolving to a much slimier game as the well-trodden trails turn to mud.
And of course, with 3,000 athletes coming from 50 countries, it's going to be a quagmire by the end of the day. And it doesn't matter where you start or what age or sex you are, the obstacles are exactly the same.
There is no difference on the course for a male or female, age group, whatever. The course is the course. You're a champion if you're here. You've qualified to get here. So we want everyone to have the same level playing field.
Now, an interesting thing about this series of races is that every single one of these 100 obstacles is a mandatory completion.
Yes.
What that means is, if you fail an obstacle, you can't do a penalty like in other races. You have to pass the obstacle.
Yep. So 100% obstacle completion means you have, we pull this guy out here, you have your band intact. So when you start the race, you have a band. This one right here is for the 15K. So if you're racing the 15K and you faced an obstacle like this and you couldn't get through it, you could either keep trying, by all means, keep trying as many times as you need to, or you can say, I'm done, I'm spent, and get your band cut. Once your band is gone, you cannot qualify for medals, you can't qualify for prizes. You still get the finisher's medal. You still get a high five from everybody else. We love you just the same, but you're out of the money.
So really, the prize for people here is the band. That's the goal.
I will tell you that people covet these bands. We instituted this way back with the first race, and we thought it was a neat idea. That neat idea blew up to the fact that people just, I mean, I literally had grown men, double the size of me, crying at an obstacle while I've had to cut their band off.
We're less than 500 meters from the finish line and the end is in sight, but the athletes are anything but safe. This is Skull Valley, one of the nastiest obstacles out on this course. So you're here at Skull Valley. I've just seen your hands.
Yeah, they're sort of quite painful, but I want to complete it. I don't want to lose my band, so.
Well, you've got this far, haven't you?
Exactly, yeah, so I want to keep pushing, you know.
You've got this far, almost at the end with your green band.
The end with my band, so it will be a bit sad to lose it here, actually.
Not this time again. How long have you been at Skull Valley?
This will be like, I don't know, my 6th attempt now, I think. But yeah, I can sort of see the finish and really hurting, and I just don't want to give it up. Getting from that last monkey bar back up to the skull, I think once you're there, you'll be away, but it's that transition up.
So what's your plan of action? You're going to just stay here till you get kicked off, or?
I'm going to have a few more goes, and then I'm going to...
How are you getting on?
Yeah, I'm now busy for 5.5 hours, but now I'm not going to lose the wristband at the end. Because of the lot of obstacles, the power is gone, and I'm thirsty, hungry, so, but I'm not gonna lose it.
I've been here for about an hour and a half. I'm coming up on my 4 hours, so I'm gonna give it one more shot. If I can make it on my last shot, I can make it to the finish line before my 4-hour cutoff. So that's what I'm hoping for. It'll be heartbreaking to give up the band if I don't make it, but we'll cross our fingers.
The sun has gone down and we're nearing the end of the event. Some of these athletes refuse to give up their green band, staying on obstacles for hours at a time, risking being kicked off the course.
Heidi Williams is one of those on obstacle number 96. She's running out of time. Light and strength fading. Is this going to be where she comes unstuck and loses that band?
I just burnt my arms out at the Force 5 rig. I was burning myself out. My hands are just shot.
Heidi is not the only one. So many struggling, having got so far through the competition. The Italians have been here now for over 3 hours.
Guys, one more try. We're going to close the obstacle with 4 hours is up.
Last chance for Heidi Williams. Come on. It's not going to happen. This time, the band is gone. But at 59, she's still full of running.
Gonna eat and see how bad my skin is underneath this mud. But anyhow, I'll be out here tomorrow, so.
Get yourself warm, get yourself rested, and I'll be watching you tomorrow.
Yeah, I will, thanks.
And virtually everyone else will be in action tomorrow in the team events. For many, it is the most exhilarating and the most rewarding event of the championships.
Welcome back to the OCR World Championships. After 2 days of competition, the athletes now have to dig deep for one final effort, the team event.
So teams of 3 ready to go on the final day of the OCR World Championships. They don't have to race by country, and we've got 3 different categories, the men, the women and the mixed team. Now Amy, you better explain how the format works.
Okay, so the course is separated into 3 disciplines. That gives the athletes the chance to play to their strengths. There's a speed, a strength and a technical section. And then they come together to do the final bit of the course, and it requires teamwork and planning. It's so exciting.
The first section is the speed section. Mark Batres has been drawn to do that for the North Americans. He's racing with Ryan Atkins. James Appleton in the yellow bib going very nicely indeed for UK's Mudstickle Machines. And they've got a really good chance of finishing in the top 3 today. Over Monty hurdles, Appleton profiting from a mistake and is going to be first into the exchange. Good start for the Brits.
I saw you come in, you tagged your teammate and you fell down on the floor. You were spent.
Yeah, those hurdles were the last thing we had to do, and I was maybe a half a second behind this American guy, Mark Batres. And the last one he fell, I heard him fall, and I thought I need to run for my life. I just thought I've got to do everything I've got into this, and you can hear the crowds, you know they're watching, and we're in the UK, I want to come back, first runner, be a Brit, get that little feeling what it might be like to be John Albert.
Third away on the second section, the strength section, will be Jesse Bruce of Platinum Rig. Now, he's an absolute specialist at this sort of thing, so they should be able to make up a bit of ground.
We have a Team North America Platinum Rig, so I'm doing the strength portion second. It's probably my strongest. The team race always brings you to a whole new level because there's, it's not just yourself. You have there's a team waiting for you, so even when you're in the pain cave and you have nothing left, you still gotta keep fighting through and find that new level and keep going, so it's always exciting.
Ross Brackley still leading for Mudstickle Machines, but he is being hunted, and he's being hunted by one of the best. Ryan Atkins is closing the gap between himself and the leaders, and that won't be a nice thought for Ross.
No, you can see in his face when Ryan Atkins is advancing on you in the woods with a rec bag, you know that you're done for.
Atkins, so strong, didn't manage to finish second in the 15K yesterday, but he will be hungry for success. No one bounces back from defeat better than him, and he takes the lead going into the final stages of the second section. Picks a nice light weight. Thinking is part of the game.
Oh, certainly, very tactical choice there. Completely within the rules, of course.
Handing over now to Ian Hosek for the technical section. And then, of course, all 3 get together for the final stage of this team event. Jesse Bruce has closed the gap, and Samuel Hubert heading out for the final leg.
There ain't no pain like a team short course pain relay.
Hosek on the technical leg, and they're doing pretty well.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure in this section as well because the spectators are absolutely everywhere. There's all eyes on you, and it's not just about you, you're supporting your teammates here.
Cleanly off. The British team relegated to second at the moment, and Jason Brunnock, he's still in there, running scared.
No, I think the fear might be in his eyes because he's not done a lot of obstacle training this year, but he got through that beautifully.
Platinum rig closing in on the top 2 positions, and still the final teamwork stage to come.
So onto Skitch here. This is where races are won and lost.
Hosek just dropping off the bar a fraction too early, inches in it, but that mistake could cost him the race. Well, good racing from Platinum Rig. They're into the lead, having been down in 4th place. Out comes the stretcher, 2 heavy balls placed on top of there. Around 400 metres still to cover in this team event, and it should be between Platinum Rig, who've just dropped their ball, and Ryan Atkins' team. You certainly can't afford a mistake, and don't forget the final obstacle will be the big wall, and that is where precious seconds can be won and lost. Platinum Rig back into the lead. They drop their balls very efficiently, and Bruce looks so determined to wrap this one up.
So with 2 teams neck and neck, it's crucial that there's teamwork involved in this last wall. The rope is a lot shorter, so you're having to use your bodies to push each other over this last obstacle.
And the second man up just hangs on to the top while the others climb up and over him, and that's been very well executed by Platinum Rig. Down they drop, final man hits the ground first. They've got about a 20-metre lead, if that. A very tight finish, but it's Platinum Rig who seal the men's team race, and they will be over the moon with that performance. Ryan Atkins has to settle for second on this occasion, and it's going to be Team Toughest Sweden who come in 3rd position. Good performance from them.
Well, they're absolutely elated with that victory as the Mudstickle machines in Poland battle it out.
Oh my God, that was insane.
Tell me about that.
That was painful. You know what? We wanted this guy to he was up against some serious runners, so we were like, stay close. We were in 4th when I came in 2nd. Then I was like, he's in 1st, he's in 1st. We're going. And then
technical part was way shorter than I thought, but it was jammed with obstacle. So this is my lane. We did a pretty good job out there, guys.
From the men's team event, we move on to the co-ed event, the mixed team event. 3 in a team. And again, you play to your strengths.
And with athletes having very different strengths, it's very important that they are put on the right leg for what they can bring to the team.
Well, a good start from Webster, who is back in action, racing alongside her husband Ryan Atkins in Team Maple Syrup Mamas, and the Russians looking good with Anastasia Makina. This event always tight, always exciting, and once again they will finish on the big wall.
So there's a narrow lead here from Team Maple Syrup Mamas. Of course, Ryan's already been out on the course, so he knows what it's all about. And again, having to use each other to get up this wall because of the dramatically shortened ropes. It's all about teamwork.
Different technique, different times taken, and it's Maple Syrup Mamas who come home first.
I think this is like the perfect ending to the weekend every year. The team race ends up being my favorite, and it's the hardest to wake up for on that 3rd day when you're tired and you're sore. But then at the end of the weekend, it's just the perfect way to finish everything off.
And the final team event of the championships is, of course, the women's team. And it's good to see that Heidi Williams is going to make another appearance, the super vet. And it's interesting to see that Miracle, Kuchumova and Hammond have joined forces to form what could be called the dream team.
And it's nice to see that Nicole has patched her ankle up and she's still able to participate today.
So they are hot favourites, but the Swedes are always efficient, always race together, the Swedish girls. Lots of good spirit in their team. But coming across the line, no surprise, Miracle Kuchimova-Hammond taking the title in the women's team event. Sweden getting the silver on this occasion. They'll have their day soon enough. And to wrap up the weekend, a charity wave in aid of Youth Sport Trust and an opportunity for anyone to have a go on a World Championship obstacle course. Plenty of fancy dress out there, lots of smiles, lots of anxiety as well.
Absolutely, because what we're seeing here is the tail end of the women's open wave for the team race. So these ladies are still trying to get over that final iconic obstacle.
And the crowd favourites, Puerto Rico, have been on this obstacle for over an hour and a half. It's almost impossible to see how they can complete it.
I know, they've tried every combination as well. Each of these women has come back down to the ground to see if they can get up there. But so far they are struggling.
One final effort. So far, so good. This is the difficult bit. Brilliant. They're home and dry.
And these women really embody the spirit of OCR. They're tenacious and determined and crossing that line together.
The Puerto Ricans getting the biggest cheer of the weekend. What a way to finish.
Well, it's been an incredible weekend of racing here. The big names have had to push harder than ever before, and the very best obstacle course racers in the world have come together for a true celebration of this very tough but very rewarding sport. Until next year, bye-bye.